Hey everyone, welcome to Sister's Room, books coming to you from the CMC page. I am Amber and this is my sister Crystal. We are so excited to be having you join us for another live author chat as part of our featured blogger series for the Coast of Magic Convention. If you're new around here, the Coast of Magic Convention is a super fun reader and author weekend held every year in Daytona Beach, Florida. This next one's happening on February 19th through the 22nd, 2026. It's all about great stories, awesome conversations, and just a way to connect readers with the authors that we love and maybe discovering a few new favorites along the way. Tonight, we are thrilled to be chatting with the fabulous Nina Crespo. She's an award-winning romance author known for her steamy and heartfelt contemporary stories. We'll be talking her books, her writings, and then we'll probably go off on a tangent of other things because that's just what we do here. So grab your drink of choice, jump in the comments and make sure you say hi because we love this hear from everybody. And then we're going to get this thing going. Crystal is going to tell everybody about bingo and how that works. And then we're going to get right to chatting with Nina.
I'm so glad you remembered to tell me that, Amber, because I totally forgot about bingo, even though it's sitting right there in front of my face. So, yay, thank you. Um, so bingo, if you've gotten a big, we've posted the card in Instagram in my stories and on our Facebook page, and then in the CMCon reader group. You just click on the link, you get a bingo card, you follow along. Guys, seriously, you can make any of these work for just about anything we talk about. I promise you, we're not going to question you very much, okay? So yeah, play bingo. Let us know if you get bingo. If you get 5 in a row, just let us know how you've gotten bingo, what words you've gotten, and we'll enter you into a drawing for an ebook for Nina Crespo from Amber and I. So yeah. So that's bingo. So I'm glad Amber reminded me.
And I'm going to be playing along, so we'll
Yes.
check in every once in a while and see how everybody's doing.
Yeah. And we've got it showing here. So that's also nice. A general card. So awesome. Okay. So back to our chat and being joined by Nina. So hi, Nina.
Hello.
Um, so excited to have you. Basically, we've been participating in the reading challenge since 2019, and you were one of the authors from the beginning and one of our favorites. So I've read lots of your books. I love them. I recommend them. So obviously, we know a lot about you in your books, but we'd love you to take a moment to tell a little bit about what you write and yeah, give the viewers a little intro of yourself if you'd like.
Okay. Well, Amber, like she like hit everything that I would say about myself as an author. That's pretty much it. I started writing romance. Well, I first fell in love with romance when I was a teen. I would actually sneak into my older sister's bedroom, steal her romance books, which happened to most of them happened to be Harlequins. And so, to come around all this time later is kind of a full circle moment for me, having started writing for Harlequin in, gosh, I think it was about like 5 years or so after I had started being published in general. I think around the 2018 timeframe is when my first book came out with them. So it's been a great full circle moment to start writing for Harlequin now. I love writing stories from sizzling to small town sexy and everywhere in between. So it's just been a really wonderful ride so far.
And you've already answered some of my questions, like when did you start writing and all, but we may revisit back to that because I'd love a little more information. But I do want to comment for those watching, if you haven't read many of Nina's books, she's right. She's got her sweet books. Your Harlequins definitely hit that spot. I just read the first book in the Tilbridge Stable series and definitely got that sweet feel from that. But I will tell you, like the breakup bash, and I know several in the groups like it, and I do not seek out spicy, but those characters have stuck with me. Like I can still see Rafe and that image of that cowboy hat on the back of that door.
Oh, I can too.
It's been a long time since I read it.
Somewhere.
Oh goodness. And then I was just reading, like kind of reviewing some of the other books in the series because I mean I obviously remember that one. And then but I was like, oh no, Rome, like oh my goodness, like the club owner, the bartender, the club owner. Oh my goodness. I was like, oh, he was hot too. So you definitely have the steamy and the sweet. So whatever anybody is looking for, I think in contemporary romance, you definitely hit. So
Well, be careful about sweet because sweet people think it's like
it is
there's no
open
like
door.
fun times. But yeah, I write open door just in case
Yes.
anybody is
Yes.
like, oh. Don't want
Yes.
anybody to be surprised.
That is a good point, and I'm really bad about because I'm kind of roll with about anything. There might be a couple times I'm like, okay, maybe I'll put that down for a while, but like all of the the open door, the closed door, and there are just some people that they need to know, like, is the door going to be open? And I'm like, I don't. Oh, okay, I got to tell people that I forgot. So thank you. So yeah, so one of my first questions was about that I had written down is kind of like what led you to writing. You mentioned Harlequin being a little bit after your first book was published. How did you start like that journey? Like, how did that work out for you?
Oh, wow. As I said, I'd been kind of an avid romance reader for a long time, kind of broke away from it when I was in college, but I've always just loved reading books in general. And so one day I was talking to a girlfriend who also happened to be my business coach. And she noticed that I had kind of lost my spark for my business. And she asked, well, what would you be doing? And she thought that I was going to say, oh no, I can't imagine myself doing anything but being a solo entrepreneur. This is fabulous. I'll never give this up. And I laughed and said, well, I'd be writing romance. And that just took her fully by surprise. Our original business meeting came to an automatic halt because she says, I've never even heard you talking about romance before. What is this? And I went on to explain to her that I had this love of romance. I had a dream of writing one. And she asked a very valid question, like, well, why aren't you doing that? And I didn't have a good answer. And I started writing the next week and I didn't stop. Um, Along the way, I started working with Kathy Yardley as a coach, and she became my accountability partner. And she's been there with me from day one, just nudging me along until I responded to an Entangled publishing call out. And we kind of approached it like, well, it'll be a good opportunity to get maybe some feedback from editors about your writing and, what you need to approve, et cetera, and so forth. And they got back to me and said they wanted to publish my book. So it kind of went from zero to, really fast in a short period of time. And
Well,
I
that's
took that
exciting.
on.
I don't know. So something that struck me out of what you just said was that you wanted to write romance. Like I know so many people want to write, they want to write. Like, I love writing. And you specifically said romance. So is that the genre you have always been interested in? Do you have any interest in any other genres? Would you try to write in another genre?
Yes, actually I would. I mean, at this point,
Sorry, guys.
definitely. I love that. I mean, my cat's probably roaming outside the door right
Yeah,
now.
and I
So
can't close him out because we'd all hear him.
really, well,
Sidebar,
that's what I
Nina,
was saying. If
do
you
you
hear
have,
yowling,
oh,
if
sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay. I was going to say, if you hear yowling in the background, she's not dying, she's not starving, she's not abused. She's just very spoiled and, right now wants to be in here. But no, and I forgot your question. Would I write anything else?
Yes,
Yes,
other genre.
I would love to write something else. And I'm actually exploring that now in terms of other stories that will get written and hopefully published. So anything from women's fiction, but I also have a tendency to like things that have a little bit of kind of a thriller aspect to them, a little bit, maybe
Mm.
a shade of mystery. So I'm experimenting with that a little bit and having fun with it. And sci-fi, science fiction type fantasy romance. I had written a series, the song series a
Mhm.
long time ago where I kind of touched into that. And so maybe, I'll dip back into that. So that's the exciting thing about writing. I feel that there are no limitations except for the ones that, are in your mind or imagination, really.
Would you put a romantic spin into those stories, you think, even if you go outside of the main genre of romance?
I probably would, but I don't know that some of them would be like the traditional happily ever after. They
Oh,
might,
Nina.
little be a little different, in terms of how that evolves, and definitely leaning toward maybe happy for now, that sort of thing. So yeah, but I think I'll always have a shade of the romance and the couples in that, because I do love that interaction as well.
Yep. I can usually get behind any book if there is a sliver of romance somewhere. It can be like the neighbors next door that you peek in every once in a while, but I want to know how that relationship is going. So
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but sometimes I find myself trying to force it. Like if I'm not sure a book has romance, I'm like, these two people, they're gonna be. I still
yeah.
remember Eric Asher being like, no, they're just gonna be friends. And I was like, are you sure about some of his characters? I'm sure there's a vibe there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so you mentioned sci-fi and mystery and thriller, which I'm curious. So I had research on my list because I know you've talked before, and I know you've talked before about your cowgirls in Maryland, and some of the research that you did in that. And it is Maryland, right? I didn't just make that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, no, you got it right.
So what kind of research, I mean, you can speak to that. What kind of research do you put in and to what you do now? And because that would be in setting, research and setting, both of those things.
Yeah.
Because both of those would play pretty heavily into, sci-fi. Like, there is a lot more, research and setting in that. So where are you at now with that in your books? Do you do any research?
Yeah, I mean, with the books that I'm currently now writing, like with the Bishop Honey Bee Farm series, there was definitely some research that had to go into that, and some of it is just getting, a research book. I actually went out and bought Beekeepers for Dummies. That was the easiest book, to just kind of get my feet wet in terms of about bees and beekeeping and those sort of things. Watching. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, which were very interesting, and we would go down a very deep hole if I told you all of the things that I watched. But just being able to see beekeepers in action, and most of all, being able to hear their thoughts and reasonings about beekeeping and their connections to the bees, because with at least with those videos that I watched, there's a very deep connection and sense of responsibility for wanting to take care of the bees, take care of the environment. It's something that the beekeepers are very passionate about, and that is something that really struck me as I was, looking at those videos. Some of them at the detriment of their own relationships, where there was a choice. It's either me or the bees, and they chose the bees, and that was actually kind of interesting to me. There's also flowers involved in these books as well, in terms of a greenhouse is coming up more in the third book in the series, because one of the characters is very much interested in the flowers, and of course bees and flowers go together. So again, just reading and my own natural passion for plants and flowers have played into it. So being able to put those things in the characters as well has been um, exciting. And then of course there's the craft aspect of it. Just being able to, um, particularly when working with things like, well, even with romance, the romance genre, I still study craft, but like mystery, thriller, science fiction, fantasy, it's not something that I write all of the time. And so being able to research, okay, well, this is how you build the plot. This is how you should approach writing this story is also very important as well, at least for me.
Mhm. Now that you were mentioning, the beekeeping and the research you had to do, and you definitely hit on that aspect of beekeepers and their passions and the things that they have to be knowledgeable about with Brooke. And they don't want to give anything away, but when the environment is not handled the way it should and things don't go very well. And I can just I that was very heartbreaking. Like I didn't expect to cry over a bee book, but you got me with that one. And so I can see how you'd have to think of how you could do something like that in a way that fit into that story. And I can see that research and that scene alone of
Yeah.
saying stuff without saying stuff. So
There you go. And the other thing with that book as well was researching country music, and particularly
I would, yeah.
Black country music performers, and just going into the history of who's out there, and just really diving into some great artists and some great music along with it, and to be able to share that when the book released, sharing part of my playlists and things like that for artists that, people perhaps didn't even know were out there. And
Okay. Well,
that
that's
was,
cool. I had music on the list and I was going to ask you anyway. And you're right. Like, Gable is, country music and it was really cool. And moving, very touching, very much enjoyed his character a lot.
oh,
So you do have playlists? Have you, I missed this. You shared playlists because I missed.
I did. There were snippets of the playlist itself, that not the music itself, but like the list itself
Yeah.
that was shared, in different places. So it's on my timeline, I think somewhere on
Okay.
Instagram and my Facebook page as well, I think. But yeah, it's just some great artists, and I'm trying to, let me see if I can.
I was going to say, was this a list that kind of created inspiration for the book, or was it something that, once the book was created, you sort of put together that worked with the book?
Oh gosh, I mean, a lot of it was inspiration, driven. There was one song I'll just mention in particular that was by Kane Brown, and it was called "What If," and it was like, "What if I was made for you and you were made for me?" sort of things, and those lyrics just for me really hit on Brooke and Gable's relationship, where she's reluctant to commit, and
Mhm.
he's saying, "Hey, what if?" there's something here. So music definitely played a part in the inspiration for that book.
My cat just bit me. Stop. He's like, you're not paying me enough attention. I'm trying. Okay. So no, oh, what did I say? Oh gosh, cat, you got me off track.
I have
Um,
an audience question before we get too
Go
far.
ahead, because
Right.
I need to find my next question.
Nice. So, DeLorean wanted to know if there was anything that you researched for a book that became an interest or a hobby beyond the book. Are we going to see you in a beekeeper's uniform anytime soon with like a hive out back?
Well, the interesting thing about that is I'm actually allergic to bees, bee
Oh, so
stings.
no, not bees.
So no, I unfortunately I cannot get a hive. That would have been interesting. Um, and I'm trying to think, like, has anything really developed into a hobby? I don't know that if anything is developed in a hobby, but like exploring more artists, in the country music genre. I really didn't listen to a lot of country music before that, but just really discovering new artists has really caught my attention. So I'm happy about that.
So I often have to be careful in my reviews of your books because you do make me cry. And I know when I say that, there are people that absolutely like will run from a book. Like, what do you mean cry? And I'm like, it's not in a bad way. She just makes me emotional. But your characters do have you do have often have a lot of theme of like loss, or and Gable has some loss in his life, and I know that Colin in my absolute favorite book, Officer and a Fortune, it's Colin, right?
Yeah.
He deals with taking care of an aging and elderly parent who is not doing very well, and those are rough. How do you write those scenes? Like where do you draw from that, and how do those affect you as a writer?
Oh, wow.
They're a lot as a reader. I love them though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had this conversation before about, an officer and a fortune. And with that, it was probably my most challenging in terms of writing emotion. And because it was part of Harlequin's um, uh, kind of collection series, because like the Fortunes is their series,
Mhm.
and you are invited to write a book that involves those characters, and you don't know what the story is going to be. So I was like, oh sure, I'll write a Fortunes book, and then they laid this thing out there about Colin and his dad, and it really kind of took a lot for me to figure out, well, how do I do this and it not turn into a book that just kind of depresses people or just depresses me in writing it. And so it's very much about finding the hope and the love in those situations. Because interestingly enough, the two things that personally I believe we as human beings can connect with on this planet is everyone, I would venture to say, understands love, finding love, losing love, wanting love, and everyone understands loss. And so, those two can definitely be something that people relate to, but in loss, always looking toward love. And so when I am writing those scenes, that's what I'm keeping in mind, that yes, there is a sense of loss, but we can look toward love even in that loss for healing. In fact, I had someone, actually my sister-in-law, tell me this as well, because unfortunately, I lost my sister. And she was telling me the importance of, yes, I'm going to feel that loss, but the importance of looking toward that love, never letting that love go, and just really let that be the light inside of you. And so I think that's something that I carry into my writing when I'm going into those scenes, that yes, hopefully I'm going to give you all the feels, in terms of that moment, but hopefully you'll walk away with that story with a sense of well-being and hope and happiness for that character as well.
I did, because
We
that's what I tell
tear up a
people.
little bit right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
Nina.
I did. I always tell people, I'm like, I cried, but listen, it's not like the whole book. Like it
It's
was
Right.
good.
good. It's good crying though. It's
Yeah, it
not
is.
like
It's very
oh
good. It was, and I think there's, something recently that's kind of went around in one of my circles is the idea that you relate and you appreciate things that you can relate to. And I think you're right. You pulled some universal feels in there. But for me, for the Colin book, my husband at the time was taking care of, or just had been taking care of his father for a very, very long time. And it was something that, I mean, it felt like a long time. It wasn't as long as it probably was, but it felt really long. It was heavy. It was hard.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's what hit me even more, and not in the sad way. It was a lot of the love at the end. But it was, oh, such a beautiful book, and you did such a good job with it. And Gable had some tough stuff in his book, and I love that you didn't let that go on for too long, that that people have the emotional maturity in your books to feel and have moments and have some wallowing, but listen when somebody talks to them. And I think sometimes that's what I love in a romance, is that that growth that we can have when we take a step back and listen to something that somebody says. And I think you do that, like with a lot of your books. Like, they have moments they wallow and they're kind of closed off, but they don't always close off when somebody is trying to help them, and I love that. So
Well, thank you. So I'm doing my job.
really good job. But you do make me cry a lot. So even when it's just like a little, like, maybe break up for a minute, it still makes me sad. Okay. But then I get happy, and then at the end it's all good. It's happily ever after, y'all.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
we have lots of opinions on crying. Jennifer does not want to know that the book's gonna make her
But
cry.
again, what I say makes me cry may not make you cry like it does me. It's
Addison is happy to cry with her books. And I think Susan also likes a good emotional crying book. So
I like to give people a cathartic cry. I don't want them to walk away and feel they're going to slug down a bottle of wine afterwards. No, I want you to feel good that, you release some emotions. That's what I'm aiming
it's
for.
romance after all. There's
Yeah.
gonna be a few tears.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of touch on like three things at one time, like the plan, the process, your writing routine, all of that kind
Okay,
of
get ready, Nina.
in this next little moment here. But so I guess the point I'd like to kind of focus on is the fact that I know for sure, at least unless I'm wrong,
Okay.
the Bishop Honeybee series has some characters from Tilbridge Stables, actually, like quite a few of them, right?
Yeah, because Tilbridge Stables series, Small
Wow.
Secret series,
Uh-huh.
Bishop Honey Sarm series are all related because they take place in the same town. And
Okay.
so we'll see reoccurring characters in those three series. Yeah.
Okay, and so how does that come about? with you being, because I know like sometimes you write in a world, like with the Fortunes, like you wrote a book in that series. But when you, as far as I know, Small Town Secrets, I see is your books. Those books are yours.
Yeah, Hillbridge,
And
Small
then
Town Secrets, Bishop Honeybee
yeah,
Farms.
they're
Mine.
like your series. So like, is that something that you know, that you're approached with the idea of like writing another one in that world and you kind of like branch off, or is that something that you come up with? Like, how does that work with these different series? Like,
Well, with Tilbridge, I mean, initially that that was just like serendipity, really, is what that was, because I had read in a national magazine about the Maryland Cowgirls of Color. And they had done this beautiful photo shoot where they were on their farms with their horses, and they had on, these very fashionable cowgirl type outfits. And I was like, man, that's interesting. That really caught my eye. And so then, long story short, like a month later, my agent contacts me and says, "Hey, there's an editor at Harlequin who's interested in books about black cowgirls. How do you feel about that?" And she sent that article along with it and said, "This is the article they read." And so it just felt like this is meant to be. I read the article, they read the article, let's do this. So that's how Tilbridge Stables came to life. Small Town Secrets, it was because within Tilbridge Stables, there were a lot of secrets kind of going on.
mhm.
And so I got the idea of, well, what if I just write a series that really hits on secrets? So in all of the books of Small Town Secret series, A Chef's Kiss, The Designer's Secret, obviously
Mhm.
secret, and Second Take It Love, the secret is a main part of the plot and the themes of the book. And then with Bishop Honey Bee Farm series, that actually came out of A Chef's Kiss,
Mhm.
where I won't say it wasn't a throwaway scene. What it was is that, in A Chef's Kiss, it involves two chefs. And so the male protagonist, he is a celebrity chef and he has his own television series. And so he is in the town, and part of one of the things that he's doing there is that he's filming his show, and his showrunners are looking for places to film, episodes. And so they know there's a bee farm in the area, and they want to film at the bee farm, but they say, "Hey, every time we get in touch with the bee farm, the beekeeper's like, nah, not a good idea. You shouldn't come." And then they say, "Well, in the town, there's a little rumor that the beekeeper is psychic." So like maybe there's some psychic juju going on there. And so
Mhm.
my accountability partner, Kathy, found that to be a little amusing. And she said, "Hey, that's low hanging fruit. You have to explore the bee farm." And so that's how Bishop Bee Farm came to life. Brooke is not psychic, I will tell you that, but it just kind of feeds back into gossip and rumor and speculation.
Small
So there's
town,
a lot of
good old
that.
small towns.
Is there
Yeah.
a another reader question? Is there a specific specific reading order to these three series? Can you go back and forth through all of them? Do you need to start a series and finish it before moving on to the next? And before you say it doesn't matter, no. That to
I was
some
gonna say
people,
I've read them all over just so everybody knows. So I
oh,
can give
it,
you
it
some.
does not matter to me, but to some people it matters. If I
Got it.
meet a couple that is married in the first series and the second series, and I haven't read the first series yet, then there are some people that will
Yeah.
might
In
not.
this series, there's lots of married people.
Yeah.
Then
Lots of
maybe
dating
start
people.
with the Tilbridge Farms one first, and
I thought it was Tilbridge Farms, I do think, and I'll let you talk, but I did go back and read that one. It's been fascinating. It was like going back in time. I was like, well, when did
uh,
this
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah. I think it's one of those, it depends. I mean, the way
Yeah.
that I wanted to structure each of those series is that no one would have to feel that they must go back to a prior series, but I definitely hope they will, because they'll read these characters and go, oh, I want to know about their story.
Which
Um,
would be a me because I don't research into what story, what series anything is. I just pick up a book and then I'm like, ooh, I need this couple now. Where can I find them?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But there are some people that don't like to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it just kind of depends. I mean, if you want to jump into the Small Town Secret series, I think you can jump into that one fairly easily and not feel that you have been deprived of anything, but you'll meet couples from that series, the other series, this Tildred Stable series, and you might want to dip in and see what that's about. And the same thing with the Bishop Honey Bee Farm series. You're going to run into couples from the other two series, and you might want to go spend some time with them. See.
I was gonna say, and again, giving nothing away, but there is a couple in the honeybee one, so I know. And then I went and read the backs of books, so you know which couples are getting together, okay? But I just read the first Tilbridge one, and I actually thought it was kind of fun. Like there's a couple that's not together yet, and obviously has no inkling that they're going to be together, and I'm kind of like, I wonder what's going on in the background. Like, I wonder what kind of tensions between them that they haven't noticed.
Who is that? Now you're making me curious.
It's in the Tilbridge ones, the third, I
Oh,
think it's the third book that
I haven't written
that-
about him yet.
no, you have.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, and that's why it's not wouldn't be a secret to give it away because you can read the
Right.
books of the books, you know they get together and they're a character. I would have never known that from
Who
book
wants to know which
one.
characters? That's
Yeah.
fine.
I wouldn't have known it from book one if I hadn't read The Honey for a Bee.
Honeybee. Okay.
And so,
You had me thinking I'd written about
no,
like
no, no,
dogs.
no.
Like, who is that?
No, but it
I,
was
I
funny
need to
going.
write about them if I haven't.
It was funny going back and reading a book in which clearly, and if you read what their story's about, they're clearly like they're the fake dating couple. So
Yeah.
clearly they're going to end up,
Right.
fake dating and realizing that they like each other. But it was fun to go back and read and see them even just a little bit on the page
Right.
and just a little bit about them when they didn't have an idea yet. I felt a little psychic. It was
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
So I personally, that's me. It's an adventure. So
Oh, yes.
Amber's like, no. No.
Okay, let's see. Chloe and Tristan. Rules. We've talked about that. We talked about that. Oh, darn.
Cat's tail. Just
And sorry, I opened the window too for him, so he usually just sits in the window,
hilarious.
but he won't go. Um, okay, we're getting kind of close. This is always happening. What haven't I talked about? Okay, tropes, because you write contemporary romance.
Okay.
So in your process, we didn't really get into that because we just sort of talked about how everything was connected a little bit. Um, with like tropes and all, is that something that you think, because contemporary romance is sort of driven, fake dating, all of that. Is that something you think about when you start a book? Is that something that kind of sort of comes along? Like how do tropes fit into your
Hmm.
process?
I don't always start with a trope. Um, Sometimes, depending on the characters, the trope becomes very obvious. Um, Gosh, how do I answer that? I think I start with the characters first, and then as their story evolves, I begin to see the tropes a bit more clearly. Sometimes there is just a trope that's in my mind that I want to write about. If it's reunited lovers, I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to write for Philippa as I got to the end of A Chef's Kiss and really got to know, or not the A Chef's Kiss, when I got to the end of, which book was she in? She was in, oh gosh, The Cowboy's Claim. When I
Yeah, I was
first
gonna say
met
she
her in
was in there.
the
I mean,
poster is
yes,
right there. So when she was in A Cowboy's Claim, and I began to write about her, and particularly she has a relationship with one of the sisters who's in the Tilbridge Stable
Mhm.
series, Rena Tilbridge. They're best friends.
Liked
And
them.
as I started to explore their friendship, it just came to me that, oh, she's in a situation where she's got a past love and it just didn't work out. And so Reunited Lovers, I knew was going to be a part of A Chef's Kiss. When I started writing A Honey for the Beekeeper, I wasn't sure what that was going to be. I do have to, I don't know, refrain myself sometimes when, because my favorite trope is fling to a thing. I just love the idea of people not knowing that, hey, this one time that you're going to get together is not enough. And just exploring that thought process of going,
What is this? What is this called?
um,
Fling?
To a
or one
thing.
night stand.
Oh,
But
fling to a thing.
yeah,
Okay.
fling to a
Oh, I
thing,
don't
one
know that
night
I heard
stand.
that one. Okay.
And
The
so,
breakup bash is that, and it's
yeah,
definitely
that's all it is. And so, I didn't get it out of my system
Hmm.
with that series. And so, yeah, just trying to explore more. I would have to say that, like I said, One Night Stand is my favorite. Reunited Lovers is another favorite trope of mine. Um, Anything that has to do with dealing with emotional odds, that's always going to be in there as well. Uh, a little bit of Boy Next Door is in a Honey for the Beekeeper. So I try to keep it interesting by introducing new tropes within different books.
that's
DeLorean
fascinating.
says fling to a thing sounds so much better than a one night stand, which is, I guess, I probably only ever heard of like one night stand. Fling to a thing, I have not heard of it phrased that way
This
before.
one.
That is cute. I like that.
Well, I mean, the person that I heard it from, I must confess, the first time I heard it was from Reese Ryan, who's a fellow romance writer, and I was like,
Cute.
yeah, cute.
That is cute. It reminds me of how like all these like the even the word trope. I was like, a trope is a what now? And then like it's just like and now you realize that now people are selling, books, by it. Like, this
So
is
many different
friends to
tropes
lovers, this is
never
enemies
even
to
heard.
lovers.
Yeah, different.
So it's funny how much even that exploded. So fling to a thing, there's probably 900 tropes out there on a list somewhere. And I'm like, what is that one? Awesome. Well, Nina, we could sit here and ask you so many questions because I really do enjoy your books. Like I've read several and I love them so much. And I usually ask you guys more questions. We usually ask you more questions about you just in general and, get to know you a bit more. But I feel like I just wanted to know so much about your books. And here we are at 8:36.
We had something special we were gonna do, right?
Yes, yes. So that's what I was gonna say. We're gonna start wrapping up just a little bit early because I'm really excited about this. So I'm excited about this because I thought this book was awesome. So I can't wait to read more in the series. And when I saw what it was about, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yay. So do you want to?
Well, I received a special box in the mail, and I thought that I would open it with you guys. It is super heavy, and so I'm going to do my best not to knock over the table and the computer as I am doing this. But this is always exciting to get
I can't
the
imagine.
box.
I
I,
bet.
I get excited when I know what's in the pocket and it's one little book, so I can't imagine. And you wrote it.
Yeah, and I wrote it. And this you would seem like it never gets old. Maybe I should have cracked the box a little bit before.
No, give us the full look into it, Nina. This is
Otherwise, I might shred a nail. Oh, it's here. Yay. The
What if
second.
it were the wrong box? That would be bad. Okay.
Oh, well, that has
What?
happened. That has happened. But no, it's the right box. It's Sweet on a Younger Man,
Oh,
I was
which
so
is
excited when I saw who that was going to be about.
it's the second book in the Bishop Honeybee Farm series. Let me give people a little
yeah.
insight on that. Let me put this box down because it's
It's a
heavy.
big box.
Um, but yeah, Sweet on a Younger Man. So it's Bishop Honeybee Farm is book one. Sweet on a Younger Man is book two. There's actually going to be four books in this series.
Yay, okay.
So Bishop Honeybee Farm involves two sisters and their aunt who became their guardian after they unfortunately lost their parents. And so the first book, as we've been talking about, is about Brooke, who's the reluctant beekeeper who connects with Gable, who is an up and coming country music star who is trying to run away from fame and moves next door. And so the next book is their aunt, who is Ivy. And Ivy, she was in her early 20s when she became their guardian and they were teens. So she's still, she's young. They're adults now, and it's time for her to move on with her own life. She is in her late 30s, looking to 40, and it's like, hey, what about me? And so she goes off, leaves them in charge of the farm, and she runs into Jackson, who is a bartender. who has his own history in terms of, what he's kind of avoiding in life. They have their one night stand together. Or as
Oh, call it the real
we
name, Nina.
like to a thing. They're not expecting it to be a thing at all. Um, in fact, they don't think they're going to see each other again. And then he shows up in town and, well, fireworks happen.
Love this. This sounds so good.
Yeah, I was really intrigued by the end, so I was so excited. I was like,
So I'm
yay!
excited.
Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful cover. I really like that.
yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love how all of the covers have come together in terms of how Harlequin has really done a good job of bringing, these characters to life. And I mean, right, when we get done, I will probably hug these books and giggle like a child.
I love that.
They're good. I enjoyed the first one, so I look forward to reading the next one. I'm so excited that you got that box and we're able to show it because it's
So, everybody, you can pre-order now. Read a Honey for the Beekeeper, pre-order the next one. Comes out in December. So, perfect
and
way
I
to kick
from
off.
from reading the first one, I can say for those who are asking, if you definitely don't know that you'll read like Tilbridge, like if you're say like it's so much fun to see all the it doesn't you don't need to know their stories. It's just fun. There's just a bunch of couples, and I love their vibe. I like how I like that small town feel that you pulled in with those couples. So I think it's good to just to dive right in.
I like revisiting with them. So
It's like,
it's
oh,
great.
exciting. So and I guess so you kind of mentioned that. We usually like to wrap up with just sort of what else you're working on. So that one's obviously already sent off and printed, and we got to see the final product. So what else are you working on right now? What's in the future? Where can people find you? Where do you hang out? Online.
Well, the next book I'm working on is book 3 in the series, which is The Other Sister Harper. That one, I don't know when it's quite coming out next. It, of course, will be next year when that book will come out. So working hard on that. And then once I get that done, I'll dive into book 4. As far as where I'm going to be, of course, I'm going to be at Coastal Magic. I will be with you all. Looking forward to seeing you there. I will also be next year at One Love Reunion. I don't know the dates on that, but that's in New Orleans. So if you're in the New Orleans area or you're going to that conference, be sure, or either of the conferences, hey, be sure to stop by and say hello and let's chat. The best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I do a lot of more posting, I think, than any other of the social media sites. And the best way to keep up with me is my newsletter. It goes out every month or close to every month. We try to, keep it on time with that. But that's the best way to keep up with all of the happenings that's going on in my writing world.
Awesome.
I once again thank you so much for joining us. Love your books. You guys should definitely pick them up. I think to circle back to the beginning of this, probably quite a few of us started with reading those Harlequins, and I will say one thing I love about Coastal Magic has been bringing me back to that because you've got all these like big epic books thrown in your face all the time, and you want to read them, like you really do, but you're like, I don't have time, but I can sit down and I can get through a 200-page book and have a happy little love story. So Nina does a fabulous job with that. So definitely check out some of her Harlequins and all of her books. They're awesome. So we are so excited to have had you, and thank you everybody for checking in. Amber mentioned at the beginning, Coastal Magic in February in Daytona. It's a great time. I promise you, you will not regret coming out. We're some great people. We have great authors, great readers. It's a great time. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and thank you again, Nina.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and
A pleasure.
yeah.